So,
like I'm taking notes.
thank you, Ms. Tyler. Again, you already know her. She's been working with Raylan. We already discussed sort of where we are with the testing. We noticed that he had several areas of strength, but a couple of areas that were sort of a weakness for him, specifically long-term retrieval. That means we're asking him to retrieve something. Maybe you taught something, when we first start the year off, 3rd grade, you're working on place value. Now we're about to do the STAR test. Is he still remembering those same things, those same strategies that you taught back then? How would you say, what would be your account of that?
Well, I'm very glad to know that he's going to get the help that he needs. I noticed that he's a really hard worker, and he tries very hard. He's not a behavior problem, but I always wondered if he might open up, and if he had any more, if he would have more confidence if he was able to open up and be able to communicate openly.
And so right now reading was why he came to us, his lack of progress in reading. Would you say that's the biggest area sort of concern?
Yes, I think that he needs, once he get himself confidence that he can read and understand, well, I think he'll do well academically.
Okay. And so based on all the information we've gathered, again, we've talked to you, we've noticed him in the classroom. His report cards, we look at that too, and whether, again, he's repeating this year, so we were expecting, I guess, grades that were, in the A range or B range, and that's not happening, and so that's something, again, that we look at. And so have the deficits resulted in significant or substantial academic failure? And at this point, yes, they have. And so we can conclude that he does qualify for special education services with a specific learning disability in reading comprehension and reading fluency and basic reading skills and then math calculation.
So when you say reading disability, what does that mean? Does that mean he will be labeled as a special education child and put in a special classroom? What does that mean necessarily?
That's a good question. And, a lot of, we have a lot of misconceptions regarding special education and how that works. We are really, we've made a huge effort really across the country to push for inclusive services. And so what that means is we try to include Raylan and any other student that would qualify for services under a specific learning disability in every opportunity to work with their peers being general education students throughout the day. Okay, and so we can talk about what his plan of action would be. For example, what goals we would work on when he does receive services, how we would help him in the classroom. I'm sure Ms. Tyler would like to know how we're going to help him in the classroom, and then how often he might have to leave the classroom to receive those services.
Okay. And how do you know that the deficits that Raylan has, how do you know that they're not just maybe developmental? Once a child goes into special education services, are they in there for good, or do you all retest them later? Maybe they've gotten a little bit more mature and they don't have those same disabilities. How does that work?
That's a great question. Based, again, we're testing him as is, and so all the everything he was able to put out, we were able to capture in the test, and we can be confident within a range of percentage range. We can be confident that every time he takes that test or has to do a task like that, we're gonna have those same results. Okay, and so for now, since he does qualify, we will assess him annually. We're going to come back to the same meeting every year and talk about the goals that we set. The special education teacher would provide and frequently assess that goal, see if he has mastered that goal. And then every 3 years, we would decide we're going to do another full battery of tests. That means we'll do all of his cognitive testing again and all of his achievement testing again, and we'll get interviews, we'll observe him in the class, we'll do everything all over again, and just to see, because we're not in the business of just harboring kids in special education. Obviously, we want to get them where they need to be and get them back mainstream and into society and, being independent. And Ms. Freeman can attest to here at this school, we have several special education teachers, and they are more than capable of getting the kids in the classroom, helping them in the classroom, helping them outside the classroom.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we don't really try to harbor students. If his abilities were a little bit more severe, he had more deficits, then we would talk about a more restrictive classroom with more time outside the classroom. But right now, we really noticed that we can support him on a daily basis, both in and out of the classroom.
Okay. And then also, he'll be having to take the STAR test at the end of the year, is that correct? So can you tell me how this testing will affect him taking the STAR test? Will it be the same test, or will he be exempt from the STAR test? How does that work?
Okay. There are several versions of the STAR test. Right now, we're at the end of the semester, and he's been doing the regular general education curriculum. And so we wouldn't snatch him and change him and do something totally different, like give him a modified test or a test online or something really strange, because that's not what he's been used to, okay? And again, with this being his second time in third grade, he's been exposed to the STAR test before, okay? So obviously, we'd love to compare those scores from last year to this year to see hopefully he has made some growth. But this year, the difference is we're going to give him some extra assistance while taking the test. So same material as his peers, but he will get assistance. Like small group, we noticed works for him some. We noticed that in the RTI process. Also, he could get accommodations, which are ways to help students that are put in place by the that we as a committee sort of agree upon based on his areas of need. And those accommodations might include reading the test to him, okay? If we know that he has great auditory processing skills, us reading the test to him, it might boost him, not only his confidence, but his scores, obviously. And so that's what we're gonna talk about now. We're gonna talk about the goals that we wanna set here today. And from what I would notice, we obviously need to increase his reading level. Right now, he's reading at a first grade level, okay? And every year, we want to see a year's worth of growth for the student. And so right now, if he's reading at a first grade, third month, next year, second grade, 3 months. Although he'll be in fourth grade next year, we still want to show that he has progressed at least a year, because that's what his peers are going to be doing, and that's the expectation we want to set. Okay.
And I'd like to address, Mom had a question about how long is he in special ed? Is he in
absolutely.
Yeah, once he's in, is he in for good? That's not the goal. The goal is to get him where he needs to be, on level or above. And with all of the accommodations that he'll be receiving as a special ed student, hopefully that will get him where he needs. And then after the 3 years, when Ms. Stokes evaluates him again, hopefully he's progressed enough where he will not require the services anymore.
Right.
So,
Yeah, we want to get him a lot of service, and then, yeah, absolutely. We have, this meeting is the admission review and dismissal. This ARD meeting, again, we're here to, if need be, hopefully we get a child where they need to be and dismiss them from services and release them again, but the goal, again, would to be, sort of fill their toolbox. Okay, where the deficits are, we want to give them everything they need, and then sort of send them on their way. So I would have a goal of getting him a year's worth of growth, and that would within that he would need sight word, his sight word to increase, his fluency rate to increase.
Yes, and I'll add more to that.
Yeah.
Also, Ms. Stokes spoke about the oral administration, and I'll tell you what that looks like, particularly during the STAR test or any, we have SEA tests every 3 weeks, and then we have a larger test, I think every 9 weeks. What I do is pull him out, and we'll read that test to him. And so we expect to see, since we have the scores show that he is highly auditory, hopefully we'll see some improvement. I'm going to say I'll be pretty confident in saying that. Also, what we also might see with that one-on-one, when with me coming in to support him, his academic confidence will go up. Because we want him to, and I'm a high five kind of person. I have incentives for him as well to boost him to keep going. And also saying, if you read so many weeks, we set goals for him every week, and reading goals, because that's what we really want to see. Sight word quizzes that we'll do. And then even as we're in transition in the hallway, where I see him, it's just constant learning all the time. My mother had to say, education doesn't stop at 3 o'clock. So throughout the day, and any opportunity to learn, then we're going to take advantage of it. This school is very filled with, enriched with vocabulary and posters. We use those as tools and resources. Also, what he'll also receive, particularly for mathematics, so we have little folders that we set up for our students, and that gives them a hundreds chart, place value chart, and multiplication chart. But the expectation is that he'll be able to understand what that is there as tools for him, but we want to foster independence.
So you teach him how to use those tools?
How to use them, and then get to the point where if you don't see it in front of you, you should be able to create your own. We don't want him to become dependent, right? And I don't think that's what you want, because that won't go for the rest. We want to teach him those type of skills that will follow him all the way to college.
And beyond.
And beyond, yes. And also preferential seating, and I'll be working with Ms. Tolliver, since she's his general education teacher. We'll be working together, crafting a plan for him to really support him and give him that supplemental aid that he needs to be successful among his peers.
What I would like to see is let him, enable him to be able to go to another room, a higher grade, and see how he worked in a reading class in another teacher's room. That would give him an incentive also to feel better about himself.
I know too, also with his math, him qualifying for math calculation, we want to set a goal of him increasing his math facts. So Ms. Tolliver, every day she does a quiz, and they're sort of working on multiplication facts, and they're trying to earn their scoop of their Sunday, really. And so for every set of multiplication facts they learn, like their threes, they get to color another portion of the Sunday so they can see their growth. And so we want to increase that his fluency with math calculation, because again, if he's inaccurate with basic math facts, when it comes to bigger numbers with the problem solving, we'll get him going with the reading. He'll decipher, make a plan for the word problem, and then get all the way down to it and not have accurate, computation with all that. So we want to set a goal of increasing his math fact fluency.
He has to be able to read to reason.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I'll say also, if you have access to the internet at home, there are a number of online resources that we use that he's able to do at school and could do at home. And the progress that he does at home will also earn incentives for him. And obviously I'll share that information with you as well. And then there's preferred seating, to put him in a place where he can hear, see, just to set him up for success, and then a peer helper. Obviously, at this age, all students love to help each other, and that's going to be very important for us and for him.
And with him, his visual processing being so a strength for him. Pair that with him being in the right spot and his auditory processing, we can really be a huge impact on him. So let's just restate those things she just talked about were sort of accommodations for him. So we'll just restate those accommodations and we'll write it into the plan.
Okay, reset.